tolerate being around a person who I say, look at that sunset, and they go, yeah. Or look at that painting, and they're like, yeah. I mean, it's just like, it's like dragging a 400-pound metal ball. It's sad when children are so mesmerized by media, computer games, and everything, they can't appreciate anything. Nothing's beautiful to them. It's just horrible to be around them. It's a drudgery. But to be with someone who appreciates everything is an exciting place to be. You can rejoice with them in their rejoicing. I had an uncle that was like a father to me, and he was a wild man. I mean a wild man. You ever seen the movie Secondhand Lions, those two fellas? That was my uncle. I mean, really, really. I'm not exaggerating. I loved being with that guy. I could have more fun going to Walmart with him than going to Paris with somebody else. I mean, everything was amazing. Everything was amazing to him. The idea of rejoicing in God, of God rejoicing with us, can turn the most mundane things into, wow, never seen anything like that before. Now, he rejoices over them with exceeding great joy, and that to do them good. So he rejoiced over them from all eternity. And I think Gil's right here. He just didn't start rejoicing over you the day he saved you. He rejoiced over you from eternity, from before the foundation of the world, anticipating the you he was going to make, the you he was going to save, the you he was going to bring to himself and glorify. Now think about that. It says, rejoiced over them from all eternity when first betrothed to him, and so he does in time in redemption. This was the joy set before him, which animated him to bear the cross. I'm going to that tree. I'm going to that tree to get my bride, to get my bride, to get my bride. I'm going to do something here that'll make it possible for me to redeem this man and this boy and this girl and this woman. All of them. Their names carved into his hands. And despise the shame of it. I mean, to literally we have a word in Spanish that's so strong, menospreciar. The shame comes up and says, I will confront you. In the cross, this is what you're going to have to deal with. And he just despises it. I don't care. And how does he despise it? Why does he despise it? Because of the joy that was coming to him in redeeming a people for himself. That's why I think C.S. Lewis said possibly the greatest evidence of Christianity is joy. Namely, that those would be redeemed and saved by him and brought to glory. He rejoices at the conversion of them. If angels in heaven rejoice over a sinner being converted, how much more the one who made and redeemed the one being converted? Angels have no stock in any of this. They didn't make you. They didn't die for you. Yet when you were converted, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. How much the one who made you and redeemed you? And will present them to himself with joy in the spiritual and personal reign, and to his Father at the last day, and particularly what is meant here, there will be such a profusion of blessing on the church in the latter day as will abundantly show the joy of Christ in his people. Now look at this. He mentions the joy not only of presenting the bride to himself, but presenting the bride to his Father. That's really something. Now, the analogy kind of breaks down in this. A lot of young men do not have proper biblical or godly fathers. But I know of situations where young men have found their bride, and to be so just almost overwhelmed, beside themselves with joy, looking forward to the day, Dad, I've met this girl at college, asked her to marry me, as you know, and I know you haven't met her, but I'm bringing her home this weekend, and I can't wait for you to meet her. And the rejoicing of the Father in the joy of the Son with His bride. Now, I want us to go just for a second. It's not really in the... Let's just go to Jeremiah for a second. Jeremiah 32. Verse 38, they shall be my people, and I will be their God. Some people have said this is the desire of God's heart since the fall. As you go through the Bible, this is it's a reoccurring theme. They shall be my people, and I will be their God. I will see to it that they will be my people, and I will be their God. I will do a work to make this happen. He's not throwing out an invitation saying, I hope somebody comes. But He's saying, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get for myself a people. And they will be my people. And I will be their God. And I will give them one heart and one way. You know how so many, it's not as big now as it used to be, but like in the 70s and the 80s, have all these Jesus parades, unity parades. People, with preachers on television weeping, the church is so divided and there's no unity, and praying that God would do the impossible and make us one, which most people say never happens. Well, I want you to think about something. If the church is not one, then God didn't answer the prayer of Jesus Christ. Jesus prayed that the church would be one. And I want to submit to you today that the church is one. Always has been. The problem is what many people call the church isn't the church. The truly converted, regenerate Christian, that group, they're one. They really are. That's why you can sit down on an airplane beside a Baptist like yourself, a person who claims to be a Baptist, have absolutely no fellowship with them. Because though they claim to be something, as you begin to talk to them, there's no life in them, there's no spirituality, they don't want to talk about God, they'd rather talk about Alabama football or something. There's just nothing. I mean, it's like you're sitting there with a dead man, because in fact you are. And yet you could sit down on the same plane with somebody from the Nazarene church who know I do not agree with all their theology. They are evangelical. They do preach a gospel, many of them converted. Many of them I know more godly than myself. Sit down with a genuinely converted person from the Church of Nazarene and sit there and just talk all day as though you were brothers. In just a few seconds you discover, man, we're one. We're brothers. I'm not saying theology is not important, and I'm not saying the differences aren't important, but what I'm saying, you sit down beside a genuinely converted person and you'll die for that person within a few minutes. You will know them. You will know them. Genuinely converted people. You will know them. Now, I know there's discussion, and maybe I'm talking a little bit too loose here. The idea of church and all this different thing. But you sit down beside a genuinely converted person, and you'll know it. And you'll be willing to die for them. I've shared this many times, but in the mountains, we were lost one time and in danger of our lives, and a little Nazarene woman just upon hearing that we were evangelicals, that we were believers, brought us into her house and hid us down in the basement all night and prepared food for us and everything else. Hid us.